Tenim poc temps en realitat per fer aquest diàleg, llavors afegir una mica a tota aquesta contextualització que ha fet el Fandalol de la Noor. Com t'agradaria també sembla poder col·laborar i poder haver treballat amb ella des d'aquest espai de la comunitat i de la col·lectivitat, que és també l'espai en què apela l'obra i que interpel·la a pensar-nos més des d'un espai relacional i de col·lectivitat que un espai d'individualitat. I per tant, en això, en tant que curadores d'aquesta exposició amb ella, estem molt agraïdes. Per fer una mica de contextualització ràpida de com neix també el projecte, nosaltres volíem també com mirar la manera de poder fer que aquesta pel·lícula també sortís cap enfora. I en aquest context, veient tots els materials en què la Noor està treballant per fer aquest migmetratge, An I Will Help Between, vam veure que hi havia altres coses que també es quedaven fora d'aquesta pel·lícula i que si alguna cosa ens parla és justament de quantes maneres hi ha d'explicar la història i quantes narratives són aquelles que a vegades queden amagades o queden invisibilitzades. En aquest context, i parlant amb la Noor, vam portar, i estem molt agraïdes també, que ens hagi cedit part de les fotografies que ella va trobar a l'àlbum familiar en què comença aquesta pel·lícula, aquesta nit celebratòria entre tots, que són unes fotografies que algunes surten, altres no. Ara, com pugeu, veureu que algunes d'elles estan voltejades. Aquesta manera de voltejar és justament aquesta manera de saber-se que darrere també hi ha una altra història i que aquesta història és igual de vàlida que la que es veu i que aquella que es veu a vegades és la que és més esbiaixada que no tant la que queda amagada en l'altra cara, i crec que això és important en el context en què ens estem movent i quan estem parlant justament d'aquesta situació tan complexa i tan complicada i tan difícil d'entendre per moltes de nosaltres. I afegit a tot això, la Noor ens explica que en aquest marc ella havia fet aquest llibre, que de fet és també el pretext en què ens trobem avui per presentar el llibre de Stars at Midday, que explica justament quines són les històries, una, que van quedar fora del film i per tant que són part d'ell tot i que no les estem veient d'una manera directa, i l'altra és com arribem a visualitzar aquelles imatges que estem contemplant, és a dir, què hi ha darrere, què s'amaga darrere de tots aquells indrets, aquells paratges, d'aquests llocs on finalment vam rodar o la Noor va rodar la pel·lícula. És a dir, crec que hi ha una interseccionalitat de memòries, de narratives, d'històries, de comunitats, de col·lectivitats que parlen justament d'aquest arrelament a la terra, del que parlava justament, i és una terra que esdevé subjecte i quan esdevé subjecte és una terra de no pertinença. Per tant, aquestes pertinences impliquen que la tradició, l'ancestralitat, la magicalitat ens travessen i que els passats afloren per situar-nos en els presents. Com que ens agradaria, estem tots aquí una mica com també per sentir la veu de la Noor, si us sembla comencem amb el diàleg entorn de la publicació, una publicació que podeu trobar a la nostra llibreria i que per tant us en podeu endur. So let's go to start. Yeah, thank you so much, Noor.
Spanish is over?
Yeah, Spanish is over.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's switch to English now.
Yeah.
Thank you again for your generosity these days. It's been a real honor working with you. Patricia and I would like to talk about territory and land, which is very important in your work, especially in A Night We Had Between. In the book, you say multiple times that you went with your father and with H scouting for locations.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't looking for something specific, you were looking for a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, you filmed part of the movie in the Wadi Kelto Valley. Could you describe the feeling you were looking for? Did these caves, hollows, this valley provide it to you?
Mm-hmm. This is mine. Okay, it's working?
Yes.
First, thank you, both of you, dearly. It's been really a pleasure to work with you. And thank you for Tàpies and Hannafkins and Ima and everyone who is and was supporting this. So thank you. And for all the invisible people also behind the scenes that are helping all the time. It's really an honor for me to end the tour of the exhibitions that Hannafkins mentioned back in Barcelona. I'm a bit emotional about it in a good way, but it makes sense that it's here, it started here and it ends here with all this care and love, so thank you. To go back to the land and the question of feeling, I think we were discussing it over lunch yesterday, that for me, big part of filmmaking or the moment of recording is actually an answer to a question of if I'm catching that feeling or not. And the feeling is different in every scene and in every movement, because the film is based on choreographed movements, and I can explain this later. But if that certain movement or that landscape is not really talking to me, I'm talking to them, then for me I don't understand what is filmmaking if it doesn't have that space between us, which is that rich feeling. And in Palestine, the feeling for me can be very physical, and that's why I want to capture it. And it comes, I don't know, I was also describing yesterday that for me, even walking or moving on that land, the air is very thick, is very heavy with all the unjustified or unjustice killings and all the murders and dead that I believe they are in the in-between space. They are not truly, they did not leave us, and we need to listen to them. And how can I capture or listen becomes the process of making for me, to follow them, to continue what they are telling us to do. So it's a very, in a simple way I can say a bit spiritual, but it's also more of the listening and observing to make sound and images. It's really too abstract.
To keep on elaborating on the topic land, we have collected two quotes that we found very interesting. One of them is "He's swallowed by the mountain." It's when you talk about this scene when somebody is crawling inside and outside of the caves.
Which did not make it to the final cut.
Exactly. And the other one is "The land doesn't hold us, it grows in our skin." So as we said, land is very important in your work. It also has so many meanings. I don't know, you can also relate it to your identity, to your personal experiences.
Yes. I think it's an idea of letting the land lead me in the process and lead the people. So as if the land is the choreographer actually, or it's telling us how to move and what to do. So it becomes the boss, and it is, and I listen. So sometimes, I don't fight it back, I go with it. So all the movement in the film follows the land actually, without resisting it, but discovering it, going deeper in it, underground, foreground. And I thought I can read a small part of the book to explain this way of looking for relocations and how it leads us. It's short. I will read a section about scouting caves. Half of the film is shot underground in the caves and tunnels around the village where I live, northwest Jerusalem. Scouting writing caves with A. He said the village of Al-Jib doesn't have buried gold. People used to dig here for pottery vessels. He killed 3 lizards with his walking stick while showing us a cave from the Roman era that used to be a church, marked with a large stone cross. He explained that later on, people used the cross as a place to preserve their olives. He also said that during the first Intifada, caves such as this one were sprayed with revolutionary slogans by the Palestinian groups hiding inside. He picked up a few cacti on the way, peeled them with a small knife kept in his pocket. He told us that Al-Jib used to be a kingdom. He recited a line from the Bible where the village was mentioned. He talked about Yeshua bin Nun and the walking stick of Moses. He taught us how to look for caves by observing lines of narrow streams of water and almond trees. He said that there is a grave in the middle of every cave. Standing next to one, I asked him about the reason for graves in caves. He didn't know. He said that this land is haunted and that at night demons appear to drink from the water streams. Standing next to one, I asked him what he meant by demons. He said that they are creatures that only appear at night. He referred to them as night creatures and assured me that he had seen them. As the sun was going down, he said he needed to go to the village mosque where he sometimes worked as a muazzin, proclaiming the call to the daily prayer. We walked back. He asked me for a cigarette and I asked about his goats. He told me he walks them in the mountains every day and sells their meat on demand. He left and I kept repeating in my head, small holes lead to bigger caves, olive trees stand and resist without crying for care, night creatures, graves in caves, small holes lead to bigger caves, olive trees stand and resist without crying for care, night creatures, graves in caves.
Wow. So, back in that idea of the choreography, which is very important in the film, there's one point that we are also interested about dance, which should be performed by men, but finally they refuse it. So, this choreography was performed by a women collective instead. And it was only after some attempt that it works finally, no? Because as you explained on the book, it was very difficult to find the proper shape and the proper aspects to the dance. So this trial and error process to search for the choreography until it takes shapes is a core on your practices, usually, no? So to use the choreography becomes a way to analyze the social body. So this social construct is examined through this lens of theatricality that dance brings. So I would like to explain now if you could explore and go further in this idea of the choreography as a term of a social identity and a social way to permeate the society.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you. I think movement for me is a core concept in the way I direct scenes and the study of movement. And I mean movement not in abstraction but daily movement of societies and how people move and why people move the way they move. And if we look closer, we understand that the locality shapes the movement, and locality means all the social and political embodied in that locality. So people here move different than in Palestine, of course. So for me, taking a deeper look into the notion of the social choreography and what does it mean and how bigger ideologies, like social political ideologies, are embodied and not imposed actually. So how to study, through study of movement, you can reveal bigger concepts or ideas that are imposed on the body, because the body takes in a lot already. So I'm interested in that, and I think the whole choreography comes from close observation of the daily life of my community in Palestine. From the family to the village to the city, to the news, to the representation, even how we are represented. And from there I would take gestures, and then I re-choreograph them to what you would see in the final film, trying to also link to the present moment. Because some of these observations come from, like the dance you mentioned, I was obsessed with this one dance that is performed by men in Palestine before the wedding or during a wedding. It's a men-only dance, but it's so beautiful. And really for years, before even thinking of this film, I would either watch it before weddings in the village or on YouTube even. I was obsessed with it. And there's something about that movement in that particular dance with men, and I was seeing them becoming really fragile in a very beautiful way, standing in line opposite each other, so there are two lines, and the whole dance is focusing on the upper part of the body. Which is in opposition to a lot of our traditional dances where we heavily use the legs, like dabke, and which are also beautiful, but this one entered me somehow, and I was looking at it from a movement perspective, and how does, I was even putting YouTube in front of me and doing it with them. Until I caught the movement, and when I caught it myself, I started to feel what it was doing for me. So it was a bit healing, if I can use this word, because it focuses here, and they look up and then they go to the ground. So there's an attempt to end with touching the ground, or taking energy from it, from the land again, and then repeating. So I took one part of that dance I like, and I decided to re-choreograph it to the film. And yes, it went through a lot of process, because I wanted it with men first, and it did not work. It's not like they refused, but I think they were shy. And I talk about it in the book, but we did over a month of rehearsals, and we went to the set, and in the set they felt shy. And it was beautiful, but this is also part of filmmaking for me. It's not about, for me it's important to know when to let go and when not to let go. So when to insist that this should happen, and when to realize that actually you let go, because it's just not, again, the feeling. And this is, for me, is to be in the present moment as a director or a filmmaker in that particular location in that time, and this recognition, so you don't be stubborn for nothing. And in that, when they were on set, and it took time for me to get to that realization that actually I won't force it. And they enjoyed the picnic, and it was all good. We were eating, and they were happy, selfies, everything is good. And I improvised other scenes with the other people, and they went home, and then I went to my home thinking, I spent a lot of money and labor and time, but it's okay. I also had to embrace it. And then, I had to come back after 3 months with an idea of, okay, we do it, I want to work with women, and what does it mean? So one scene also affects other scenes in the film, and I worked with women, but I also didn't like it because I didn't like my own I did the choreography in a line, then I realized no. So this particular scene, which is the last scene of the film, it really took months to be made. I would say maybe 6 months from the men to reach the women, and then what we see, it took time, which I'm grateful for. Yes, because it also taught me how to really turn one particular movement into a ritual, not only to capture it as a remaking of a dance, but to push it to a ritualistic scene around fire. Yes.
Otherwise, there's another dance which appears at the beginning of the film, which are very well position of the women. We are walking in a position which resembling the women working on land. So it's very interesting the difference between a celebratory dancer instead of a dance or a way of walking, like a walking, no, like like a worker.
Yes.
So yeah. So I would like that difference. I would like to delve into that distinction between the both dance, or how women walking on the ground with that position, and the celebratory dance that the women did at the end of the film.
Yeah, because you see similarity in the position, no? Yes. When you see the film, you'll understand. It feels abstracted now, maybe, I'm sorry. So there's a scene in the film where 3 women are also bending down. And this was inspired from women in fields in Palestine when you harvest the field. Yes. So I think the whole film and the choreography of movement tries to touch again the land, although it's coming all out of it when we go in the caves and on top. But most of the scenes are trying to, to take the knowledge or the energy or the, it's a circle maybe. So this is a shorter scene where we see 3 women bending their backs and a little moving, and it's very different from a longer dance scene, because the dance scene it's the longest scene in the film. And I think, again, to go back to the question of ritual, you need to see it long. You need to get used to it, to see it. So I wanted to stay with that ritual. And I think with the dance, we were rehearsing on set, and we were doing it together until I felt, okay, the 3 women really entered the phase or the state of, they're on another level. And then I go out and I record. So they were in it fully, and I actually didn't want them to stop. I don't want to direct in this way. So they were catching that feeling beautifully, and I just recorded it as long as I could and as long as they stayed in it. When I felt the feeling dropped, then I also stopped recording. So we go back to feelings all the time.
So, on the book also acknowledge all the people who accompanied you throughout the creative process. Your father, which is the main character on the book as well. HLF, so the firemen, among others, because there's a lot of people who accompanied during all the processes. And so we remind that idea of community, no? Of how the collectivity could create this kind of films, no? So I would like to know how you feel with these people, and trying to understand how is important family and friends in your case especially.
Yes, I always say for me filmmaking is community making, and it's a way of working that I really believe in somehow, which is a way of working with family and friends, and then friends of friends and friends of friends. So it's like a ripple that keeps getting bigger. And every film, I think the ripple is getting bigger. So if you see the credits of the previous film, it's the same people in the recent film, but more, like more. So I think every film opens for friends of friends or new people to come. It's a way of working again that goes back for me to the locality and land without really imposing. I don't feel comfortable to impose or So a lot of the scenes come from the section I read, for example. A is the farmer and my father's friend who was calling him. He's a honey farmer, so my father buys honey from A. And one time, my father called him to say, I want a jar of honey, so how can I get it? And then A called back and said, I saw, I will get you the honey, but I want to ask you, I saw your daughter with a camera, what are you working on? And my father said, yeah, we were checking that cave in the village. He said, oh, you want to see more caves? I know more caves. And I nodded, my father, I was next to my father and I nodded to him yes, yes. And my father said, yeah, let's bring me the honey and let's do this. And he said, okay, tomorrow at 2 p.m., let's meet in the mountain. And that became a whole hike where he told me all what I read now. So we walked 2 hours in the mountain, and it's a mountain I know, but he really had a different knowledge of that mountain. Of course, the age, the experience with his goats, walking them around every day. He showed us a lot of locations, caves, taking us in. There's even water streams where we drank water. The cactus we were eating, he had a whole ecosystem that I would not be able to really touch before without I mean. So this kind of knowledge that I seek for, and this knowledge doesn't come when I'm in a studio writing a script on my own between white walls. I mean, this is not me. I respect people who do that, but for where I come from, there's always something missing, and it's about actually just being there next to my father and nodding to say yes, and from this a whole other, a lot of magic happened. And then A is my friend now, and we go have tea, and he already asking about the next film and how can let's do something. And he was in the production of Beyond His Scout. He said, I want to help you. And then I said, okay, I want to film the goats. He said, of course, I bring all the goats. And he was, and then he brought also his grandchild. How do I say this? Yes. And then he won. So it became like A's family became also part of the film. And so this is how to be open enough for this kind of knowledge and friendship, maybe. To really, it's beyond the exchange of if I want to film or not. It's these friendships you make, and you keep them also. Like now, every time I go back home, I go to see A.
The last thing we would like to focus on is the song for the fighters, which is a song that we can listen in the film. It's the only narration that it actually has. It's something that you discover in the sound archive in the Popular Arts Center in Ramallah, in Palestine. So this archive works for keeping these elements from the popular culture so that they don't get lost, kind of preserving tradition and folklore. You were there for more than 3 days listening, and then this song came across, which is very moving, you'll see. And you were kind of touched. It had a huge impact on you. You see that on the book. It seems to us that it was something like you make visible something that was hidden using this song in the movie, as if you've brought to the center something that was in the margins. So we wonder how important it is to recognize what is invisible in a reality like Palestine, For us it seemed like a kind of resistance of subversion. What are your thoughts on this?
I agree with you, and for me, the invisible, the space in between, the hidden, what gets invisible and what gets visible is a big question. It's a political question, actually, and we see the symptoms of it in our daily life. And I think we always need to rethink of what is the knowledge that is intentionally kept invisible. It's not necessarily is that song. I mean, okay, I will tell you about the song, then I go to invisible again. So the Popular Arts Center in Ramallah preserves, as you said, the traditional, culture, in terms of also dances, songs, heritage. They don't have a formal or official archive, and I know them, and my cousin put me in touch with the person working there, and yes, he gave me a hard disk and a PC, computer, and headphones, and I was going more than 3 days every day to sit and to listen to what is in these files. Some things I knew and some things not, but it's recordings, informal recordings of weddings, women singing. It was collected on a voluntary base, so it's also the quality is not necessarily a high quality, and a lot of it where volunteers go to women houses from the north to the south of Palestine, and they record them singing what they remember from the archive. And this song hit me strongly, and I trust when these moments happen, because they don't happen often. And when they happen, I trust it, and I take it, and then I can conceptualize it even. But in that moment, I would not know why it's hitting me. She sings for the fighters. This recording was from early 90s, and before she starts, she says that she's singing from the archive. So we're talking about different times also in this archive, and it hit me because she's singing for the fighters. And I did not hear this song before, and I thought it's beautiful, it's very bodily. There is a call in it, praise, I don't know, she describes her body also, that the back is stooping, she will paint her teeth black. So I liked that very bodily feeling, and I like to call the fighters again, to bring that from our history, that, it hints that we've been in this for many years, and we did not start last year or the year before. It's been a long fight, and her voice just gave me the hope that this call, I wanted to continue that call, and the hope in her voice that, we need to keep bringing it up until we, liberate the land in a way. I don't know if I answered, but okay.
So let's finish. So thank you so much. I'm not really sure if we have time for questions or no sé si algú vol fer alguna pregunta, té alguna qüestió aprofitant el moment.
Maybe
Thank you so much. I'm curious about the limitation of the medium you experienced. So you talked a lot about invisible and visible things. So of course you will see something, hear something, feel something. But what was something that you couldn't catch through this medium? What are some invisibilities that you kept searching for but still remain invisible? Wow. What did I eat today? This is another question. I didn't bring anything.
No, thank you. It's a very... 2 questions?
No, you answer her question first. Or do you need some time to think?
I will be spontaneous, maybe, and then if something comes later, I can talk later. I mean, there's always a lot of things left behind, no? And whatever we capture is not enough. And I think for me, maybe that's how every film opens the other film, the next film. And I think the film before that opened this one because of the exact feeling you mentioned, that I felt I did not actually capture it enough. And the previous film, for example, is shot in the same location, and there is a shot of the same, one of the caves, same shot in the previous film. And it stayed with me. There's something there that I couldn't capture. And in this film, I went back to the same location, and I told myself, why not? I can capture the same thing twice, you know, if I want to go deeper. And I went inside the cave, the land, and I discovered that this tunnel connects this mountain from, you enter it and I exited from the other side of the mountain. So, you know, so I captured something else, but of course it's not, there's always something that is behind. And for me, all the sorrow, all the pain, or all the death, maybe I captured 1%, you know. I don't claim that I really could capture my true, the feeling that I would feel or you would feel on that in Palestine. So it's maybe it's an attempt. And can I say something else? If there's time? Okay. And I just want to mention, because the notion of the invisible for me is bigger than the film, and I think it's something I try to do with the book. In other formats I work around, and I just want to mention a story because there's a Palestinian educator that I adore, and I listen to him most of the time since the genocide. His name is Noor Abed. And he speaks about the invisible, and he speaks about it through a story of his mother. So Noor Abed is, he was a student of mathematics, and he was so good at it, and he became a teacher of mathematics. He teaches mathematics all the time, and he is so good with geometry, equations. He's a master of it. He reached a point of perfection where he didn't understand the meaning of what does it give, because he calls for a kind of healing. And for him, the moment of healing came when he understood the mathematics of his mother, who is illiterate. She did not study, or she cannot read or write, but he thinks that her mathematics is the most genius and complicated mathematics he ever saw in his life. And she is like being illiterate, but she is, she sews clothes. And when he understood the kind of mathematics she created for herself to sew clothes for people, which is the human body is the most complex geometry sense. It's more complicated. That's the numbers and equations he's dealing with. And he discovered the difference between his mathematics and her mathematics. Then the moment of healing happened. And then he realized that his mathematics was made visible by institutions and all education system. And her mathematics was the one that made invisible. And that invisible I'm interested in. You know, so if I can touch on that knowledge, which comes from the people, from the land, from, you know, that is on the margins, this is the invisibility I'm trying to just touch or be close to, you know. Thank you.
I think the example of the mathematics is really very vital here, because mathematics is not visible either. It's there. If you ask a mathematician, did you invent mathematics or discover it? They would always say, we discovered it because it's already there, and we knew how to interpret it. So I think this idea of something that is real but cannot be seen, but is what your videos is about, does come back in mathematics as well. But that was not my question. My question was, your sense of community comes back all the time. You talk about it all the time. And that resonates with me because I always also have the same feeling. You know, the community of the art institutions that we work with, more than 60, the artists we work with, the people who work with the different institutions. Again, this is something that in a sense is invisible, but it's very much there. And it's that what binds us, the ties that binds us. Part of the feeling of community is that you showed your video to the people who participated, right? And so I would like to know what their reaction was. And I know that the video is also shown in Ramallah, and I would like to know what the reaction of the people was who saw it.
It was really hard this past year to show the film because of the genocide. It was not the priority in Palestine, I would say. Because in previous films, I would be very stubborn that it premieres in Palestine first and then it goes to the world. So the previous film, for example, I did 2 full screenings in Ramallah. Everyone was there. People requested one more screening to also watch, and we did another one. So this is how I like to work with film. But with this film, all the post-production happened during the genocide. It was very, very difficult, and I had to change a lot of things and make new decisions with sound especially, and editing and everything. So it was heavily affected, and it took me months to actually to go back to the computer and try to work without crying, or I don't know. I ask myself a lot, what is the meaning of art making today, and what is our responsibility as artists witnessing genocide for a year and a half. So there's a lot of responsibility in my heart to be here actually to present the film. But going back to the core of the question, when I went back home first time after the genocide was December, the film was not ready. I went back in March, the film was ready, and I remember I asked first my family, do you want to see the film? And they looked at me like very crazy. Like, let's watch the news. I said, of course we watch the news. You know, like, also for me, there was no space for to do this. And I think, yes, the cultural centers were used to also do other things of community gathering and discussing what's happening. So for over like long time, this film was watched later by the community. But of course, I sent the link to everyone in the film, you know. But we did not do a screening in these times. Now, in Qattan Foundation in Ramallah, the film is screening. It opened 2 days ago in a group show curated by Reem Shadid and Bakriya Nasi, 2 Palestinians. Yes, and I'm slowly getting the feedback. It was 2 days ago, and I don't know how to say the good feedback on mic. But it's been received well, and it will stay on screening until October actually. So it's a long time for, you know, people to go and see without pressure. Did I answer you?
It's hard to comment or ask a question after the last response, but I was wondering the relationship of your people to land in a more sort of traditional historic context, making, I guess, references to things which are unique to that land and the people, if there is any.
Wait, the relation people and land?
With the land.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You mean in general or how?
In general, like historically, how people see the land. For instance, in indigenous cultures, people don't feel that they can own the land. It's quite sort of an extreme version of what we have at the moment.
Yes. I think, it's a strong bond between the land and people because of all the dispossession and the military occupation, and so the land is under threat all the time. We come from I don't know if I'm using the right word in English, but agricultural, like the fields and you plant things, you eat them. Yes, this kind of ecosystems. This was Palestine before, more before. But there's even as a child, you need a lemon to your salad. You go to the garden and get the lemon, or the mint, or the tomato, or the. So I grew up like this. The land is always close to us, and you harvest. It's very, very close connection. And with the old political dispossessions, there is an extreme violence that is on the land that is you cannot let go. What does it mean? Even just in my lifetime. The amount of fragmentation that happened just around my village, it's illogical for my own brain to be I finished high school in Jerusalem, and then they built a wall inside the village, so I cannot go to Jerusalem. So at the age of 19, I didn't understand what does that mean, all my friends in the city, So there is a clear apartheid system that is violating the land mainly all the time. And so you resist it, so. So this kind of, the land changes on a physical level, very aggressive way, all the time. It's wounded, I see it like this. Plus, that it holds a lot of our blood. And this is something for me, I feel it just walking on it, or when I'm in the mountains, or while I'm scouting for this film, to see the caves, for example, and all the slogans inside the caves. So much history and so many, revolutionary slogans, and people fighting for it, people who know this land so well, that they know all the secrets, all the hidden spots. And I think this is this is the connection I feel. And I think we were talking yesterday that for me the land is it's not in abstraction, so I don't like to abstract Palestine. For me, I bring it back to locality, that for me it's about that particular rock, that particular cave, that particular corner of the mountain, which has a name even for me, that rock, and it's, we need to actually abandon metaphors and abstractions and go to the localities, the people, the little corner here and there, because it's there where the stories are and the connections are. I flew away with your question, but...
Okay. So thank you so much once again for being here. Thank you. Merci a tothom per venir. Acabem ara aquí al diàleg. Ara podem pujar a l'exposició, que és el pis de dalt. No hi cabem tots, amb la qual cosa ens haurem de repartir. Podem anar a la botiga també, hi ha les altres exposicions que estan obertes fins a les 7, i a les 7 tindrà lloc la inauguració i la recepció de l'exposició.
A les 7:05.
És que no sabia ni quina hora era. 7:30.
No,
tornarem aquí, sí. D'aquí una estona tornarem aquí, 20 minuts o així, no? En 20 minuts, una cosa així, ja podrem tornar aquí per celebrar aquest dia. Gràcies a tothom.